What's going on, cool betters? Pat Gregoire and Jake Bolin back once again. This time we're switching over to the pro ranks and talking about week number 5 of the NFL season. Week 4, we've dug it, buried it, burned it, threw it away. Terrible week for both of us. We're not even going to talk about it. We're on to week 5. We're on to our best bets. Jake, you have the hot hand in college football. You also have the hotter, I guess, lukewarm hand compared to me last week. I know I said we won't talk about it. So we'll let you go first. What's your best bet for this week?
This is what I can say about me. I'm consistently 1 and 2 every week we bet NFL football. So if you can figure out which one the winner is going to be, I mean, we're laughing. My first pick of the weekend is going to be the Buffalo Bills team total over 27.5. So you remember last week, I took the Chiefs team total. It was my winner last week. So I'm going back to the well with the team totals. And I really like this number, 27.5. That's 4 touchdowns. We know how the math works. We know the Bills can score too, averaging 33.5 points per game to start the season and surpassing the 30-point mark in 3 straight now. The Chiefs defense, suspect all season long.
Yeah.
They've allowed the second most points against in the NFL, 31.2 points. So right there, there's 2 great numbers that we like. Bills averaging a ton of points scored, Chiefs averaging a ton of points allowed. No opponent has scored less than 29 points against the Chiefs this season. Browns scored 29. The Ravens scored 36. The Chargers scored 30. And last week, the Eagles scored 30. And the Eagles really aren't that great. So Chiefs are allowing a ton of points. I don't love the huge number on the total of this game. But if you're going to give me the Bills 4 touchdowns, 28 points, I'll take it. Team total over 27.5.
That's the thing I've heard a lot of people throw out. Yeah, you know, the Bills, look at the teams, look at the defense that they played. The 40 last week to the Texans. It was 30-something to Washington the week before that. But you said it. Second worst scoring defense in the NFL is the Chiefs. This is not the same defense that we've seen. And I'm staying away from the total. I'm staying away from the spread. I'm staying away from a money line sprinkle on the Bills just because the Bills are normally a stay away for me. But with that being said, this team total makes a ton of sense for me. I really like that bet. If I was allowed to bet myself on the Bills, I would be doing that, but it's a stay away for me. I'm going to try to enjoy the game on Sunday night, but it's going to be a stress for me. I don't need any more sweat. So I'm going to go to my pick here. You talk about offense. You talk about great scoring teams. Well, these are 2 teams that cannot do that right now. And I'm talking about the Broncos and the Steelers. They have been putrid on offense, especially with Teddy Covers going down. Big Ben, he probably should have retired last year. It's unfortunate to see what he has turned into. I'm taking the under 39.5, and you're probably wondering, 39.5, that is so low. But don't be afraid. Trust me on this one. Denver is allowing only 12.2 points per game, and that's good enough for second in the NFL. The Steelers' defense has been pretty solid, playing against some very good opponents, and still only managing to giving up 23.3 points per game. I think their defense is much better than their numbers do suggest, and going up against probably going to be Drew Luck, I think they will have a lot of success here. So I do not see any world where these 2 teams with those 2 quarterbacks get up to 40 points. Might be a little bit of a sweat down the end, but I'm taking the under 39.5.
Yeah, I mean, the same way we talk about big totals, there's a reason there's small totals as well. These games likely going under for how small they are. And you look at it, you go, there's no way. 40 points? I don't know. You'd be surprised. Speaking of unders, I got an under for myself. I got Browns at Chargers under 47. Immediately when I saw these 2 teams are playing, I was immediately thinking under. This is an under game. Both defenses rank inside the top 10 in points allowed. Cleveland's 4th. They allow 16.8 per game. Chargers are 7th. They allow 18.5. And in yards allowed, they're both in the top 10 as well. Cleveland's 2nd and the Chargers 9th. Chargers unders this season 4-0. Cleveland themselves 2-2. But last week, I think there was 21 points total in their game with the Vikings. They're not giving up a ton. I expect Cleveland to control this game with the run game. Obviously, we know that's the most impressive part of their offense, that O-line and the run game. And I think the Chargers are going to have trouble with that defensive line from the Browns. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Herbert. He's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. And I think the Chargers are going to have to rely on their run game too with Austin Eckler. So I hope the people watching like punts, because this one's going to have a ton of them. I'm going under 47, Browns and Chargers.
I think when you hear some of the, when you hear the Chargers, you hear the Browns, a lot of people start to think about the offense. You mentioned, obviously, the run game that the Browns have, Herbert, and how electric he's been in his first 2 seasons. But these 2 defenses, for how good they are not talked about nearly as much as they should. I totally agree. I think this is an under game. I really, really like this one here. I'm going to go to another game here, and this one here, I could not stay away from this one. Titans minus 4.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I don't need to dive in too much here on the absolute gong show that is the Urban Meyer situation down in Jacksonville right now. But there's no way I can possibly bet this Jaguars team. Before this happened, what they were able to do on Thursday night, almost beating the Bengals. Trevor Lawrence looked great. It started to see that things were turning around. And then the Urban Meyer situation unfolded on Saturday night. So for me, though, it's not even just the fact that the Jags are a dumpster fire and that Urban Meyer should have been in meetings preparing. Instead, he's in meetings apologizing, and I think he's completely lost the locker room of this team. But I also think on the flip side with the Titans, they just had a very, very disappointing loss to the Jets, an opportunity where they could really start to run away with this division. Instead, they're banged up. They lose a very disappointing game to an inferior team. Now they come into this game hungry. They have to win this game. I think that it's a prove-it game for them. I think that they want to show that their offense is as good as everyone thinks. I think Derrick Henry gets a healthy dose of action here. But A.J. Brown, he's been practicing all week. It does seem like he is going to be in the game as well. So that's an extra target for Ryan Tannehill. I think this one could get very ugly. I'll take the minus 4.5. I would probably almost bet this up to a touchdown as well if the line continues to move.
Yeah, it's time for the Titans to wake up. I was on them last week against the Jets. Started out great, and then they just kind of fell apart. Like they forgot how to play football. I need the Titans to wake up. I'm probably riding that one with you. It's hard not to. The Jags are indeed a dumpster fire. My final pick for the weekend, I'm going Packers -3 at the Bengals. And I think this is by far the Bengals' toughest opponent so far this season. They've got wins over the Vikings, Steelers, and Jags, and then a loss to the Bears, which is disgusting because we know how bad the Bears are. And since the Packers blowout loss in week 1 to the Saints, they've covered in 3 straight and 1 straight up. They beat the Lions as well. They beat the Lions, they beat the Niners and the Steelers as well. I'd say the Niners is probably the biggest win between the 2 teams. And the Bengals didn't come out hot against the Jags. You mentioned it in their Thursday night matchup. And I think if they do that in this one, this game will be over by the half. Aaron Rodgers will take control. So the Bengals are sleeping early in this game. Rodgers is going to take control. I like the Pack -3. If you give me a field goal with Aaron Rodgers, road or at home, I'm probably taking it.
Yeah, this one seems like it could be one of those games where it's close. And it's a little bit of a grinded out game, but the Packers, near the end of the game, they take control. Aaron Rodgers takes control. And I do still think that for whatever reason, yes, I know that first week, the week 1 loss to the Saints was ugly. But since then, Rodgers has looked great. The Packers have looked great as well. I think people are still kind of, and the bookmakers as well, are still holding on to that very ugly loss to the Saints. And I think this line is definitely not where it should be. So I agree with you. I really like the Pack. I almost took it, but then when you sent me your picks, you had it there. I figured I wouldn't play it, but I'm going to play it personally. I love that pick there. Another pick that I love here, and I think this might be just my model going forward, Davis Mills, if he is playing, I am going to bet the other team. Mills Mafia, I'm sorry. He's been thrown into a position where just straight up, he is not an NFL starting quarterback. Last week, just 87 yards of passing with 4 interceptions against the Bills last week. And yes, the Bills, the top defense in the league. You could say, well, the Patriots, their defense is not as good as the Bills. Well, it's not much worse than the Bills. They've only allowed 17.5 points per game, good enough for 6th in the NFL. So they are very solid. We saw what they did to Tom Brady last week. Yes, that's an emotional game. Yes, it was raining, but this defense is certainly legit. And I was a doubter. First couple of weeks, I did not see what everyone was seeing in Mac Jones. I thought he was okay. He wasn't bad. Pretty good for a rookie. But what we saw last week, I like this kid. He has stones. He has poise. He does not play like a rookie. 19 completions in a row. He looked very good. He gets better every time he steps on the field. I think this is going to be a huge performance. I think this is maybe where he separates himself from the rest of this offensive rookie class and really cements himself as the heavy favorite for the rookie of the year on the offensive side of the ball. I know you're a Patriots fan, so I want to hear your input on this game here before we get going.
Yeah, I'm probably taking it. Unlike you, I like to have double winners, so win with my heart and win with the money. I'll probably take the -9. Like you said, Davis Mills, not the guy. And Mac Jones, I think his maturity level is insane for a rookie. Like you said all the right things about how well he played in such an emotional game, like you mentioned. He stood up to the plate. Obviously, they drove down. I would have liked them to go for it on 4th down when they didn't, but hey, it's in the past. We're on to Houston.
As you say, we're on to Houston. We're on to week 5. We're forgetting about the weeks before. This is where we heat up. It's October. This is where we're going to get dialed here, Jake. So everyone watching, we want to thank you for tuning in. As always, stay tuned to the socials at Coolbet Canada and, of course, at Jake Bolin for him, at P. Gregoire for myself. If we add any more plays, we'll put it out there on Twitter. I know, like I said, I never bet the Bills, but it is a primetime game. I'm going to give out some of my best props. And if you haven't tried it yet, give the Bet Builder a try, especially for those night games. It is so much fun. You can build your own same game parlay with props, over, under, money line, spread, whatever it is. Build your perfect parlay for your favorite NFL game on the board or for multiple games. You can do that as well. So for everyone here at Coolbet Canada, we want to thank you for watching. And as always, stay cool.